everybody, good afternoon, and welcome back to my Exploring Women Artists through Facebook Live. Today I wanted to focus on Yayoi Kusama. She is also known as the Princess of Polka Dots, which I thought was a fun nickname because of her sort of obsession with polka dots, which is very evident in her work. So Yayoi Kusama was born in 1928 in Japan. She's a Japanese artist. She now lives in New York. She's in her 90s. But she was born in Japan, and she's a multimedia artist, which means that she uses a lot of different mediums or styles. So she does sculpture, she does painting, photography, installations, which are 3D spaces that artists turn into sort of projects. Or and I'll give you an example of one of her really cool installations later. But she's a multimedia artist who writes poetry and creates installations and does sculptures and paintings. But throughout all of her varying mediums or styles, all of her works have polka dots or repeating patterns, which is kind of what drew me into her in the first place. I thought that was kind of cool. And the reason that she includes polka dots in all of her work is because of sort of hallucinations that she would have as a child. So her vision would be patterned or blurred, and she would see spots everywhere. And so now she channels those hallucinations that she had as a child into her artwork, which I think is really awesome. It's kind of like trying to get other people to see her world as she used to see them as a child. And these sort of hallucinations were very traumatic for her, and she channels it into her art to kind of deal with those traumatic events and the mental health issues that she struggled with throughout her life. I'm going to show you some examples of her work. As you can see, lots of polka dots and dots. As I was saying, the hallucinations that she had as a child, she saw a lot of spots and a lot of repeating patterns. You can see that back there in her vision, and she incorporates that in her art, which I think is really awesome. So today, one of the project that I am introducing for you guys is pumpkins. So you're gonna make your own polka dotted pumpkin inspired by the Princess of Polka Dots, because she makes a lot of pumpkins. As you can see, here are a bunch of pumpkins with a bunch of polka dots. Down here are sculptures. I wanted to show you a painting and a sculpture of her polka dots. And these are both on pumpkins. She has an attachment to pumpkins, which I will explain in just a second, but I also wanted to show you the installations that she makes and her paintings. So she doesn't exclusively stick to pumpkins. She also does nature, as you can see, like mushrooms. Again, she has this sort of linear pattern going on in the background, and she has polka dots on all of her mushrooms. But one thing that I wanted to talk about before I go into the actual project were her installations. So she takes a 3D space and turns it into a piece of art, and she calls these infinity rooms. She's done a lot of them before. But what she did, and you can see here, is she took a room, she covered it in mirrors, and she took LED lights to create the kind of dots that she's famous for. And she calls it the infinity room because the lights create these dots and the mirrors create a sort of infinite effect. So you're standing in this plane and all you see is dots, which is kind of like literally putting her viewer in her shoes, and the viewer seeing the world as she used to when she was having these hallucinations. I think that this is really awesome. If you guys have ever been in a mirror house where you're trying to find your way out of a maze, but all the walls are mirrors. It's very difficult, sort of very disconcerting to find your direction and which way is actually an exit and which way is a mirror. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever done those before. I think they're cool, but also a little bit scary, and she kind of embodies that in this infinity room with all the mirrors and the dots. So, she's the Princess of Polka Dots because she uses dots in all of her paintings. And she uses dots in all of her paintings, but a lot of her paintings and her sculptures and her installations are pumpkins. And I wanted to know why she had such an attachment to pumpkins. And it turns out that she uses pumpkins in a lot of her work because she used to draw pumpkins as a child. In an interview, she said that she loves pumpkins because of their humorous form, warm feeling, and human-like quality. So she was saying that they're nice to look at, and they're sort of gentle, like they look very hard and structured, but when you touch them, you can feel that there's life within. That's sort of why she had an attachment to it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Personally, I don't have an attachment to pumpkins, so seeing so many pumpkins when I Googled all her works was interesting. I thought that there had to be a reason behind that. And there is. She loves pumpkins, same way she loves dots. So today, our project is going to be making your own polka dot pumpkin inspired by Yayoi Kusama. And I wanted to show you what I had in mind. I made an example for you guys. This is mine. As you can see, I used her work. I drew a pumpkin first. I made polka dots throughout the pumpkin, and similar to a lot of her backgrounds, as you can see here, she uses linear patterns in the background to kind of create this effect. Again, trying to show the viewer how she saw the world when she had these hallucinations as a child. So here's the pumpkin, kind of the idea of the project that you guys are going to create. And I had a lot of fun. I think that drawing the polka dots was definitely tedious. It took a long time, but it was really, it was fun, and I think that this pumpkin turned out really well, and I had a lot of fun. So I'm going to take you through how I did this. First I drew a pumpkin, and I'm going to show you guys how I drew the pumpkin that I did. The great things about pumpkins are that they're natural forms, so they're not perfectly symmetrical. They don't have to be perfect. So I'm just going to give you an idea of how I drew this sort of pumpkin. This style of pumpkin is one that Yayoi Kusama uses a lot in her work. So you can use that if you like, but you can also draw a regular circular pumpkin like this one. It's not going to be my best because I'm holding it up, but just like that, and then a little stem. You can, of course, draw a pumpkin like that and add lines. So you can draw a pumpkin just like that. That'll work too. You can easily do dots in here, but you can also do it sort of more stylized, like this one and that of Kusama. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I went like this. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It sort of kind of looks like an ear right now. Did the same on the other side and made sure that the bottom's connected. Again, this isn't my best work. I'm holding up the sketchbook. And then what I did was I drew a stem, drew a little circle on top, and drew the stem down here, and then I just did a little squiggle and had the lines go off like this. So that's how I created that. I would start off by drawing the pumpkin, and then depending on what materials you're using, I drew the polka dots first, which I think was probably a mistake because I went to color it in after, and the black from the polka dots started bleeding through. So I suggest that you guys start by picking a color to color in your pumpkin. Don't make it too dark because you want the polka dots to be prominent. You want the polka dots to be the first thing that you see because polka dots are so important in her own art. So I chose a blue color. What you can do is color your whole pumpkin in, color, different patterns. I didn't want to color the entire pumpkin in so that you guys could still kind of see the polka dots. But yeah, so however you want to color it is fine. So I would color it in first and then go in with Sharpie or some sort of black marker. I used this marker right here. It doesn't have to be Sharpie. To color in the polka dots. And what I did was I used varying sizes of polka dots. So as you can see, some of them are really big, and then others are really small. Like over here, they're literally, I was just like dotting my pen on the paper. So just like Kusama does in her work, she uses a lot of different sizes of polka dots, which makes the pumpkins look a lot cooler, personally, I think. So I used I played around with different sizes of polka dots, and that creates this kind of look. They're not all the same size. So after the dots, after I colored in the pumpkin and I added my dots, I decided what I wanted to do with my background. I didn't want to leave it completely blank. I thought that was a little bit boring. So I added a horizon line right here, separates the floor from the sky. And I added some linear patterns in the back here, just like she does in a lot of her works. As you can see here, she has a lot of lines in the background, so I added some of that to add a little something to the background of my pumpkin, just to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. And that's my final project. So again, I suggest that you draw the pumpkin, you color it in, and then you work on the dots using different sizes of dots, and then you can decide what you want to do in the background, whether you want to do more dots, whether you want to leave it blank, whether you want to color it in one solid color or do these linear patterns like I did. Totally up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about her, and I hope you enjoy doing the project. I think that she's a really interesting lady. She's struggled a lot with mental health and these hallucinations that she had as a kid, and she channeled that fear and that trauma through her artwork, which is why I really love her polka dots. I think that that's really interesting, and knowing a little bit more about her history and why she chooses to do the things she does in her work makes the pieces and just her artwork in general a lot more interesting. So if you guys do the project, please share with us. You can use #LoveArtSphereInc on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And written instructions and photographs of my example will be posted on the blog. It will be posted in the description of this video. And I hope you guys enjoy and stay safe. And tune in next Wednesday for the next Exploring Women Artists virtual class. Thank you.